Hello everyone and welcome back to the Felix Smart Studio here in beautiful Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Today we're going to be doing a slight maintenance session on the UNS 9DL behind me and talking a little bit about the importance of water changes. So let's get started. Now, water changes are very important when it comes to your regular aquarium maintenance, especially when you have a brand new setup. And there are 4 particular reasons that I like to remember when doing my water changes. The first one is that it removes excess nutrients from the water column. And excess nutrients like nitrogen are the #1 cause for algae growth. So by changing the water, you're essentially ensuring that those levels never get too high. The second reason is that it removes physical waste. And physical waste, whether it's fish waste, whether you've got some plants that maybe have decayed or leaves that have fallen off, or maybe some fish have passed away. Removing the water and those excess physical waste is going to be critical to ensure that those nutrients don't get too high. It also removes ammonia, which is the third most important point. Now, ammonia in a brand new aquarium can be quite detrimental if it's in high levels because it can actually cause ammonia burn on your plants. Assuming that you don't have fish when you set up a brand new aquarium, it'll be important for you to still change the water regularly to ensure your plants stay healthy as well. And the last point, or point number 4, is that it can actually induce fish breeding behavior. And this can just be quite fun to notice. And if you're hoping to one day breed the fish that you have, water changes could be a key to help you get started with that. So those are 4 important points when remembering about water changes. Now, how often should you change the water in your aquarium? If you have an established tank like the one behind us, doing it once a week is more than enough. We usually recommend changing 30 to 50% of the water. However, if you have a brand new setup, then there is a schedule we would recommend. For the first week, we recommend that you change 30 to 50% of the water every day. For the second week, we recommend you change 30 to 50% of the water every other day. For the third week, we recommend you change 30 to 50% of the water every 3 days or twice that week. And then from the 4th week moving forward, you can move to just once a week, changing again 30 to 50% of the water. We also recommend that you pick a day during the week where you feel like you can consistently do this so as to not feel like you're rushed having to do it periodically on a random day of the week. Also try to make this fun. It can be tedious sometimes, but put on some music, have a good laugh, have a snack, just make it an enjoyable time. Now, as far as the tools that you'll need, there's really only 2 things that are needed: a hose and a bucket. However, there are other tools that can help make water changes a little bit easier. For example, this here is a gravel or sand vacuum, and this can help you remove water from your aquarium, but also sift through the sand while you're doing that. So it does 2 jobs in one. I particularly just use a simple hose of any kind, and again, it doesn't matter what material or type you have, as long as it's just a hose. And of course, you are going to need towels. And I recommend that the towels that you use are towels that you're always going to be using for this maintenance. The same thing goes with the hoses. And the reason for that being is that you don't want to accidentally use a hose that maybe was used in your garage for some other chemicals or anything like that can get into your water column and actually cause a disaster by killing your fish or ruining your plants. Another benefit that can help you is having a submersible pump. Now, a pump is useful if you don't want to haul buckets around and you have a long enough hose to take the water directly outside. It also can help you in filling up the tank if there's no faucet nearby. You can fill up your water bucket, bring it close, put the pump into the bucket, and then slowly fill up your aquarium. So I particularly use these quite often in bigger setups. But really, a towel and a hose is all you're going to need. Now, with these tools, you don't need to get very expensive. This hose right here was probably 50 cents, but something like this at a pet store will run you a little bit more money. For towels, I used a regular microfiber towel, which you can buy almost anywhere. And then pumps are easily available online, usually starting at $10 to $15 a piece. Draining the water in your aquarium is pretty straightforward. Using the hoses that we just showed you, you can siphon the water out till you get about 30 to 50%. When it comes time to add water back in, it's important that you do 2 things. The first is make sure that the water going into your aquarium matches the water that's already in the aquarium. This is very important as some fish are extremely sensitive to temperature changes. The second is to ensure that you have the right dechlorinator and that you've added the sufficient amount to the water putting in. Now, some people will say that you can go ahead and add it directly into the aquarium. However, you do want to make sure that you add them for the total volume of the aquarium, not necessarily just the total volume of water that you're putting in. It really doesn't matter which dechlorinator you use. I recommend get one that's as highly concentrated as possible if you do have a large aquarium or multiple aquariums, because that'll ensure you just get the most bang out of your buck. Otherwise, either of these brands work fine, and you want to make sure that you follow the instructions on the label as close as possible. Don't try to eyeball it or anything like that, because you just never know when you might have accidentally added too much dechlorinator into your water. But once the dechlorinator is in, give it a couple of seconds just to kind of go through the entire water column, and you can fill up your tank. So now what we're going to do is essentially just change the water in the tank behind me. So let's get started. All right, so now it's time to fill the aquarium back up with water. So we're gonna go ahead and dechlorinate it. Now, this here tells us that 10 milliliters will dechlorinate 20 gallons of water. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Now we'll give it a half minute and we'll fill it back up. All right, so the water change is all complete. As always, go ahead and comment below the benefits that you see in water changes, or what you like to do to make water changes more enjoyable, or even perhaps how often you do water changes. Perhaps your routine can help somebody else on here with their own routine. As always, don't forget to like and follow, and we'll see you on the next video.